Okay, we're back again. The thing crashed a second time because we've already been here close to 2 hours now. We'll continue further though. Comment did not answer the question. He absolutely did. This is going to be up to the opinion of the individual. But when this man says during DMC 1, Mundus performs a feat where he seemingly creates stars and constellations, is it accurate? Kamiya stating universe in reference to the thing being created is a universe, not stars and constellations. Now, right here, they argue it's a non sequitur, but this is more of an opinion-based one than anything else. A non sequitur is a conclusion or reply that doesn't follow logically from the previous statement. It absolutely does. He's referring to stars and constellations. A universe is where stars and constellations exist. It's not a non sequitur.
Also not an omission.
Meaning that he confirmed nothing. This is up to the opinion of the individual. And even then, you have to kind of debate non sequitur, which you really can't. If he actually wanted to say that Mundus was universal, he would have simply answered yes. No, this fucker is lying. Because if he would have answered yes to creating stars and constellations, they would only call him multi-continent level. They would still interpret that lower. Get the fuck out of here. He is being dishonest as fuck.
Also saying that he would want us, he would have just, he wanted to say, sorry. If you wanted, sorry, my fucking, it's way too, we've been doing this for way too long.
You want to go drink some water and I'll just continue onwards?
No, I've got it for a sec. Alright, so when he says the sentence, if he actually wanted to say that Mundus was universal, he would have simply answered yes. So that's convenient. Earlier in the blog, he didn't seem to have a problem with saying, like, he created the universe, or Mundus created the universe. But now he's completely fine with, you know, Kamiya having a one-word answer to something that isn't as blatant. Also, like we said before, Kamiya hates power scalers. He hates power scaling, fundamentally. So this is stupid. This is factually incorrect.
Yeah, so
given character.
Right here he says, but he doesn't say he created the universe or Mundus created this universe. I guarantee you, if Mundus, if Kamiya would have said yes, they're all like, well, he doesn't say yes to him creating it. He says yes to there being stars and constellations. I guarantee to you.
Like every single game, they'd be like, maybe it's a metaphor, maybe it's an idiom, maybe it's like there's not enough clarification, it's semantical, whatever stupid fucking bullshit they could come up with to justify, like, let me add one more inch of proof that you think you needed. You were almost there, but just a little bit more. Oh, you didn't quite make it this time. How convenient.
Also, you want to talk about non sequitur here for a minute, which would have made connective sense. This one makes connective sense. Again, debate me. Like he said, Jubileus without both the eyes of the world was universal, which means you could scale Bayonetta to universe level if you wanted, I guess. Let's see this real quickly. I mean, is Jubileus capable of destroying the entire universe? Sure. Okay.
Yeah, I don't see what's the problem with that.
That sounds fine to me. What's the problem? Bayonetta's already scaled to Uni Plus. I do have disagreements with it based on certain things, but like if he said that and that's valid, fuck it.
Uni,
okay.
Yeah, no, Uni, like imperfect Jubileus is what we'll call it. Imperfect Jubileus being Uni is not like crazy. He also states in there's a video on YouTube that directly goes over like Kamiya's involvement. He's literally sitting there with like two game devs and he explains
where he's like, she's making a universe right there.
Yeah, he literally explains that the areas that she sends you in the boss battle are universes she's creating on the fly.
Yeah, again, I do have some issues with Bayonetta scaling directly to Jubileus' feet there. I will explain in a separate video at some point, but what?
We're just saying, in the context here, here's another example of another verse that he's talking about directly. And I have literally had people tell me that this answer is more fair, just the one word sure, than like the Mundus tweet.
Also, right here. Like, oh, well, hang on. Because they actually gave a counterexample to their Mundus feat. Could Mundus destroy the human world? Could be. Notice how this is a troll answer that's not very specific in comparison to universe. This doesn't help their argument, it hurts it. I've never understood why people don't understand this. Kami also has gone on record years ago saying that asking about DMC is pointless and it is no longer his property. Funnily enough, you want to know what context is missing from these tweets?
The messages that lead up to it?
Perhaps? You know, almost like they don't want to mention specifically what he's referring to when he says this. For context, this is in reference to the DMC reboot. That's what. So yeah, no. Asking my opinion on things is pointless. This is fair in reference to games he didn't have a part in. But again, the stars and constellations, he's the only one who would know the answer to that since he was the director of that game. So he would have the best answer there. Itsuno, I don't even think answers questions for DMC1 if we're being honest. Some people might bring up Kamiya helping with the hype trailer for DMC5. However, that trailer is purely promotional. Still shows he was a part of the promotional team, so I'll still be part of it.
Also, Itsuno doesn't touch one because he leaves that to Kamiya. So why would you even say?
Oh. Well. Lastly, Kamiya's words on Twitter can be very messy. He utterly despises versus-centric questions. We've already stated this. Okay, so just for context, look at some of the stupid shit people ask him. Could Mundus exist outside of a 10th-dimensional plane? Does the Watcher of Time actually exist in DMC? He does. We have evidence for that. And if he does, is he more powerful than Mundus? No. And we actually have more evidence of that. At their best, which character can defeat Mundus in a fight? Beautiful Joe, Amaterasu, Bayonetta, Wonderful 101, Ask Your Mom. No, again, like, he doesn't like these blatant questions. Like, no. Like, these are completely different types of questions as well. And also, that 10th-dimensional one was just fucking stupid. Mundus dying only affected the castle, not the entire demon world. Okay, no, we don't argue for the demon world being destroyed. Okay, so they argue Mundus didn't make the mirror world, but Mundus's creatures are in the mirror world. The key to Mundus's house is in the mirror world. So...
yeah, all of his demons are there. All of his generals are there. Oh yeah, the demons that he created that he didn't consider worthy of a name are there. Kind of funny how like everything he owns, so basically his dogs, his like house servants, and the keys to his bedroom are in this fucking dimension.
That no one else ever enters at any point or shows they have signs of being able to enter.
And what bonus round, the mirror that you use to enter it is covered in curses and spells that prevent you from being able to get into the mirror. Almost like you can't get in there naturally, and someone is trying to prevent you from doing so.
Mundus...
I was going to say, only the people who are aligned with Mundus can do it naturally. Dante doesn't get into the mirror by walking in there. He has to go use alchemy to make, like, the elixir to the Philosopher's Egg to travel in there.
Alright. DMC5 confirms... oh, he's bringing in DMC5 for a change. Mundus caused power from eating the same fruit that Urizen ate. This is true. We mentioned this earlier because we actually know DMC. The fruit is shown to be able to make illusionary dimensions. Yep. This is an illusionary space created by the demon tree based on the memories of the demon king Virgil. That being said, everything in the dimension is real. It's called illusionary, but illusions in DMC are basically reality warping. So,
yeah, we'll go into that in a little bit.
It is a space created by a demon tree based on the memories of the demon king and is the only place where his mind is at ease, or where the mind is at ease. DMC5 art book. So while not confirmed, if Mundus did actually make the space, it could be an illusion world like the fruit example above, which is a real tangible place you can interact with. Little semantical here at this point. Note 2, narrative consistency. Okay, so this is going to be rich because people who do objective power scaling don't realize how stupid power scaling actually is narratively. We'll look at this. Universal levels of power don't make much narrative sense in DMC1 when you look at the limitations shown for Dante in the game. No one argues for DMC1 Dante being universal in the human world. Just saying.
No one does. We literally argue against it.
Dante in his base state, after the Sword of Sparta empowerment, is strong enough to fight and beat Mundus the first time around. This is in the demon world and amped with the Sword Sparta. The same Dante, this is an actual lie, is then stated to be killed if he doesn't escape the collapsing demon castle. So, ladies and gentlemen, just for context, Dante has given up the Sword Sparta at this point.
Yep, and he's running for his life.
Yes, he leaves the Sword Sparta with Trish as like a fucking gravestone. So this is not the same Dante. He is already fucking lying. Likewise, he is also confirmed to die if he gets caught up in the collapsing island collapse. This is in the human world, and this is without the power of Sparta. Once more, whatever.
Also,
which Dante also implies to be true. No, what Dante says specifically is there's nowhere to run. This will be your burial ground as well. So, I mean, I guess it's good enough.
Yeah, the island is being collapsed by the force of the demon world directly. So why would you do they unironically want to argue he's like building level? because he's running for his life inside a castle.
Which is going to be blown up by an explosion that's going to take most of the brunt's effect in a separate dimension, separated by time and space.
That at this point we have definitive evidence scales above Dante. Like Dante does not scale to the full demon world at
At
this
least
point.
not in the human world.
No, not even in the demon world.
Oh, he
Like
beats Nightmare Mangler.
by the events of the anime, yes, but at one, no.
Why don't you love Nightmare?
My point is that if Dante says he's gonna die from the demon world collapsing on top of him, that is completely fair, especially if he's in the human world.
Yes. You could argue the reason he would die to the island collapse is because he was no longer amped by the demon world, which the demon world is stated to do by both characters like Gilver and the guides. Okay, so some research was done. Some research was
And
done.
Mundus directly.
Yeah,
He
here
said,
your powers are
"Here
weak,
your powers are
human.
weak." Yeah, and
The
that's the
issue
exact same.
is that he was still going to die from the castle collapse in the demon world. Again, just to clarify, he's lost the power of Sparta at this point. This is not the same Dante that beat Mundus. He's deliberately lying. And this would make it impossible to scale him on Earth to any feat he does in the demon world. Which also means Nero wouldn't scale to the cosmic arguments. Nero absolutely does scale.
What the fuck does Nero have to do with any of this? Why
Well,
did he
to
even
be
bring
fair,
up?
this is a Nero versus Hellboy blog. You might have
Oh
forgotten
yeah,
about that 3 hours ago.
I forgot. Like, I forgot about a lot of this, but it, so let's see. The Demon World amps may have been retconned later on, but it is regular. It wasn't. It was not. DMC5 literally brings this back by stating that the demons have arrived for the first time without their mediums. They literally don't have to possess anything. They can come over in their true forms and bodies. And somehow people still manage to fuck this up when they're like, you think demons are way faster than the breaking the speed formula? Yeah, because they're possessing an object in the third dimension. If they're not using your real body, of course you're gonna be a lot slower.
But regardless, it is clear it is not consistent for Dante to be universal in DMC1. Uh,
In
completely
the
true.
human world.
In the human world,
In the
that's
human,
completely true. For most of their argument here, it's completely true. If only they weren't lying throughout the entire fucking argument. No. How did Dante get back? In no piece of media, whether it be guidebooks, the games, novels, etc., is it ever explained how Dante got back from the space fight to the demon temple. This is kind of fair, but also kind of not, because there's a section with Void Mundus right now where there is an explanation for it. Mundus just starts falling apart, and then the scene goes white. Second later, Dante's back in the temple right next to Trish. This is usually argued to mean the whole universe disappeared and that Dante then appeared there. Issue off the bat is assuming the universe disappeared. It was only confirmed Mundus did. Mundus sensed his doom, wriggled in pain, and disappeared into the void. This was the end of the battle. So how did Dante get out then? We don't know. Well, Mundus just wasn't sustaining the universe anymore. Again, Void Mundus will help out with this. The Sword of Sparta may have been responsible, but that is sadly an assumption. Oh, that's rich coming from your entire DMC2 section. Okay,
that's
not
it.
even everything in the DMC2 section. Just the part that the demon world isn't moving when it directly tells you the demon world is moving. So let's just ignore that, I guess.
Also, the saying the sword Sparta might not have been responsible because it's sadly an assumption. Something being an assumption doesn't make it invalid. All arguments based on inductive reasoning are made from assumptions because you are not entirely certain of an outcome and you're basing it on the evidence that you have at hand. They do realize that like Trish is referred to as a corpse, right? At the end of the game, like Mundus kills her. She's dead before the fight. And then she is alive afterwards. And the most powerful weapon in the fucking series that we know that has an energy source, is sentient, and multiple powers and capabilities, is sitting right next to her for a full mission, and then she spontaneously comes back with no explanation.
Would you say it's an assumption to assume the Sword Sparta brought her back?
I, I, well, you want to know what's funny? I think I can make this easier. Yamato is, the other sword of Sparta, is directly stated to resurrect Nero from the grave
But
in
Mangler,
DMC5.
that would
In
imply
DMC.
that the sword has a power that's not directly stated. That's not how these people do things.
Oh no, I guess it would be too much to assume that the original sword also had the ability of resurrection, because maybe that's where Yamato got it from in the fucking first place. But
Nope. Nope. No statement. It's not
it's
valid. It's just an unknown that
crazy.
has no answer. What we do know is there's no evidence for assuming universal erasure. There is with Void Mundus. Void Mundus is argued as having all the power to demon world as its nexus and heart. Completely valid, 100%. Read the book for yourself. This ignores plenty of context from the novels. That's rich. For one, there was still demonic energy present. Yeah, his demonic energy. This place was originally the human world. It's been corrupted beyond recognition. A weak current of magic runs through it, but strong enough for us to resume our native forms. Remember, I already showed this earlier in like part 1 of this 3-part series. That's the bugs. The bugs confirm they're bathed in Mundus' energy. This is Mundus' power. They have no counter-argument against it. Second, having all demonic energy from the demon world doesn't make you automatically universal. It does. It does. Like, you have all of the power that sustains the universe.
Actually, hang on. You'd be wrong. It'd make you higher than universal.
Oh, my apologies. It would make you uni plus. At bare minimum.
Correct, just not for the reasons that they think.
It's argued the energy from the demon world made the human world. It did. Or more accurately, actually, guys, if a random fucking light can make a universe, why doesn't demon world energy just scale that high?
I don't know. I guess the demons are just weaker than the humans.
I guess demons are weaker than a random beam of light or a normal beam of light, which is contradicted by it being stated it was the light from the division of the original universe that became the human world. Oh, but hang on a minute. Let me scroll up here real quickly before we continue. Let me scroll back to their statement about the light. What did they say? It was a natural ray of light. So eat a dick. Your argument's not even consistent among yourself.
Also,
nor do we have any time frame for this creation at all. It would not matter. It's a separate space-time. The usage of Nexus and Heart are vague and never really elaborated on. Again, this is omission equals like contradiction for these people. If it's not directly spoon-fed to them, they can't fucking accept it. Nexus can be the focal point of connection. Definitely not what's being argued or shown. Just saying. Being the heart doesn't mean much. I'm sorry, heart. You don't matter to the human body you're powering.
You want to like replay DMC1 and look at the internal like interior of the final mission before you go into Mundus' vault?
Well, I mean, you're already inside Mundus.
Well, so like what I mean and what Zim is referencing is that when you go to the vault to open up the door to where Mundus is sealed away, you know what you have to destroy to get inside? A literal fucking heart. A literal heart. So, I don't want to hear this from guys
Being the heart doesn't mean much, given Mundus' death doesn't erase the world as some claim. We know this because it was confirmed Dante and Burial got BFR'd back to their own world. So, you remember how I mentioned earlier the universe being destroyed is actually supported by the DMC2 novel? This is what I'm referring to. Let me explain. Burial had woken up a little earlier than Dante. The first thing she saw was a decaying corpse. This is actually after the fact. Very interesting they only bring up the scan after they get sent back. Here, let me see if I can't pull up the actual fucking, where's the scan at? Hang on. Where the fuck is it?
Where did they bring up the scan of what happens when, before their BFR?
No, of course not.
Because that might help some, context.
It might actually explain what happened in the first time. Hang on, let me see if I can't find it. Oh. Hang on.
Whoa.
Son of a bitch. Okay. Dante Holster. Here we go. I think we're getting it. Where the fuck is it? Do I not have this fucking... Where is it at?
If you want, I can find it. Because I also have the physical copy of DMC2's novel sitting right over here.
Hang on.
What page is this?
It should be past 133. Oh, this is a little embarrassing. I could have sworn I got this.
Ah, yes. Here we go.
Sorry about this, guys. For those of you wondering, I'm trying to find the context beforehand. Please forgive me.
Here we go.
Okay.
I have found it. So, this is right after he kills Mundus. So the legendary fight was over. Dante holstered his pistols, the darkness crumbled to the light. He recalled defeating Mundus in his own world, the last harrowing experience to give an advantage. Here, last time he had help, had he gotten stronger, or was his destiny to go on alone? Dante, Beryl's voice snapped Dante out of his thoughts and ran towards him. You're amazing, she gushed. She explains how she witnessed the battle. Okay, we've got to get out of here, he said. This place is more dangerous ever with the king. So what Dante says, pay attention to what Dante says. We've got to get out of here, he says sternly. This place is more dangerous than ever with the king dead. Let's get what we came for and run. Beryl didn't have the will to argue. She only saw Sparta when she looked at Dante. Something was wrong. Beryl wasn't so much as looking at Dante as looking through him. Dante, what's happening to you? Dante stared at Beryl with wide eyes. Both warriors were slowly growing transparent. Their clothes, their weapons, everything that was attached to their body was vanishing before their eyes. Even their senses were affected, their consciousness ebbed worryingly. Dante tried to speak, but he could no longer control his mouth. The sensation was familiar, just like being swallowed by the beast heads. Oblivion consumed them.
Now, just to clarify, that's not how the beast heads normally work. I did find the scans finally. They are there. Mangler quoted it perfectly. Okay, so they don't touch the beast heads, which are how the beast heads operated. They just get randomly sent back after Mundus gets killed.
Now, I know some people are going to bring up that the beast heads are stated to be in the throne room at the time, but it is consistently proven in the novel that you have to be in close proximity. Like, they need to be within, like, arm's length. And
For them
Dante
to
just,
work without a host already, like, controlling
yeah,
them.
and we have no evidence of the beast heads being active in that timeline as far as, like, a host. Because Mundus doesn't need them in the alternate time. He literally has all the powers and abilities of the beast heads anyway. He wouldn't need to use them in the first place. So the fact that Dante says as soon as he dies, we cannot be here while the king is dead. It is not a good idea to be here. And then he immediately gets BFR'd and fades away in a way that is not active with how the beast heads operates. And remember, these guys seem to be under the impression that what is it called? They seem to be under the impression that
That there's, like, no answer here whatsoever for what's going on or what's going on. Oh,
they get BFR back to their own world.
but
From what?
again, Mundus doesn't do it, and neither do the beast heads.
Yep, because the beast heads don't activate that way. So the only logical conclusion we can make with Dante's statement where he says it's dangerous to be here with the king dead, you know, the one that's stated to be the nexus of the demon world that sustains everything. You know, the only logical conclusion is that the demon world, which is also merged with the human world at this point in the alternate timeline continuity, collapsed because the guy who sustains it is fucking dead.
And before
And
someone
Dante just
says
killed him.
the sensation is like the beast heads, Mundus made the beast heads, so his power would most likely feel like what he created.
His power would be exactly the same.
All right. In the second novel, the demon world and the human world aren't fully merged. Hey, Mangler, isn't this a contradiction to what they were saying earlier about the demon world being merged in DMC2's novel?
Yeah.
Rather, the human world has been terraformed by the demon world bleeding in. I don't. Is that the only time they mention terraform? Just out of curiosity, because they talk a lot about the demon world and human world interaction.
And I love having the physical copy of this stuff. I can just debunk people on the fly.
Okay, and the demon world begins terraforming the human world. All right, so to be fair, it is consistent. Trying to be as fair as possible here, but we've already been here like 3 hours. Dante, so broken clock right twice a day. Dante killing Mundus means nothing AP wise, as the void has no mass.
That would still be void manipulation.
And we don't actually objectively know if Mundus himself is the Nexus.
Refer to the page above.
So this is them saying it must be near the nexus of the underworld's power. And notice how things calm down specifically after Mundus dies.
And it is stated by Dante directly that it's dangerous to be there, in the throne room where they should be. They should be in the safest part of the demon world, by the way.
Griffin mentions that they are at the King's Keep, and then later mentions that it is the nexus of the underworld's mystical energy. Okay, so Mundus is chilling out at the source of all power, and you're assuming he can't use it at all in any way, shape, or form?
And,
a guy who can manipulate raw demonic power, who made the beast heads, which can create raw demonic power to do amazing things, which we'll talk about. He just doesn't know how to use raw demonic power then?
Also, the beast heads in the next section, so this is going to get even worse. But he's just sitting. So in recap, he's just sitting on top of the nexus of all energy.
But apparently he can't use it at all and doesn't absorb any power from it.
And it's not related to him, even though he has a direct statement that says he's the sole ruler of creation for timeless eternity.
Even if you want to argue he's amped by the full power of the demon world, that still scales. There's no problem here.
And then if you want to use the Japanese translation, it says his rule is absolute. He's the ruler of basically the ruler of the universe, independent from the flow of time. So this man exists independently from everything and still is sitting on top of the energy source that sustains the demon world.
But I guess you just can't use it. TLDR, we don't know how much energy Void Mundus actually has.
This is okay. So this is an example of DMC having what's known as nuanced writing, where it doesn't fucking spoon feed the exact fucking example to you. It doesn't tell you the nexus of the demon world is directly supplied by Mundus' strength and he made it. It just tells you the same thing I just said in a different amount of words. And for me to assert that and explain that to you is not an assumption. Or it's not like
Oh, okay. I kind of want to just get on to the beast because after this it's going to be a lot faster.
Oh yeah, no.
Oh, we're over the mountain now, fellas. Okay.
Yeah, that was...
Whether or not he actually is the Nexus, his death does nothing to the realm. Again, that's debatable. And his explosion isn't a feat for Dante because Void Mundus is literally intangible and has no mass. Hey, jackass, if an explosion occurs with something that has no mass, how does an explosion happen to begin with? Just saying, I feel like arguing for logic there is a little fucking weird, but whatever.
The beast heads. There are 3 arguments for the beast heads. Beast heads shake the world. Beast heads embodying time.
Don't worry, Mingler.
Beast heads is needed to be able to reshape the world.
So shaking the world, this is fine. Like, no one's gonna argue this. It does really only state a building for the most part. It's fine. Not a crazy thing. A world here obviously doesn't mean the universe, given it mentions aspects of the planet such as the ocean. No, this is just because the game is localized. So they're arguing because the writer doesn't go out of his way to say every single time the universe is in shock. If the author's like, the ocean's afraid of the beast heads, they're like, only the ocean is. Even though it says it's... Hang on. What's their actual scan there specifically say? I know what the exact quote is. The world shook. Okay, so there's the world statement. Even if you don't want to take this as like the whole human world, doesn't really matter. The immutable laws of physics, universal truths, wrestled with forces intent on ignoring them. It was the birthing pains of a creature from a dimension I can't pronounce that. Anathema to our own. So so this world shook. This could very well mean the entire human dimension, but even if it doesn't really matter because we don't really need this for the scaling up ahead. The beast heads reshaping the world is explicitly reality warping hacks that has never actually done or elaborated further on. So this is actually a blatant lie, disproven by their own scan. So,
as it's literally stated that when Dante gets the energy, he says the beast heads eat us humans and replenishes you demons. It's like a power transformer of souls. Probably, Dante shrugged. A power that now improved him felt neither good nor evil. It simply was. Whoever wielded it could shape reality to its own design, for better or worse. Own design being if Dante decides, I want to reshape the Milky Way galaxy to like a fucking donut.
Well, hang on, Mangler. That's pretty good. But did you read the paragraph above where Dante says probably?
Yep.
So, the beast heads eats us humans and replenishes you demons. It's like a power transformer for souls. Now, did you read what's the very next paragraph afterwards?
Yes.
Ho ho, a fascinating conclusion. I should patent this. A process for transforming humans into a basic magical energy. No statement of giving abilities or hacks, just pure raw power. It's almost like in DMC, if you have enough power, you can basically do whatever you want.
Well, I think this time is probably the time in the blog where I explain how democracy works.
Mango, we've almost been here for 3 hours. Can you keep it under 15 minutes?
Another 3 hours more. So basically, this kind of relates back to the Mundus thing that was mentioned, but demons in DMC, as indicated by the descriptions in 5 under Fury's description and under the Lucichia's description, manifest their powers and abilities based on their desires. So when they want something, they get it. Okay, if they want something, their deepest desire mutates their body or their powers to manifest things in reality. Whatever their unconscious dreams become their world, essentially. In this case, if Dante decides he wants to reshape reality to his design, then that would become reality. It doesn't matter if you think that's not consistent with what he's capable of. Your interpretation, things like the laws of physics, time, space, concepts, all that's fucking meaningless. It's completely meaningless in front of like demonic power as a whole. If Dante wants it, he's gonna be able to get it.
It should also
That's how
worth noting again. This power is given to him by just getting sheer raw power. This is not a hacks ability he gains. This is not a new item he gains. The Beast Head literally gives him raw demonic power, and with enough raw demonic power, he can reshape reality as he sees fit. Demonic power directly scales to the strength of your hacks abilities. So even if Sparta's seals were hacks based, he would have to have enough raw power to affect a universal space-time continuum at bare minimum.
It is worth noting that the hack statement is only applicable if you already also have demonic power. This is not how your engagement would be working with these people if you don't.
Yes.
But that's only relevant. It's only relevant for me to mention that if we're not talking in DMC. In DMC, that's true. Out of DMC, it's a little different.
But. So again, this completely shoots their hacks argument in the foot because this proves that raw demonic power is what allows people to do the hacks on the scale they can. So even if up until now everything was hacks, it would still scale to AP now. Very simple, very easy.
The beast says do not fully embody time as their destruction does not affect time notably in any way, shape, or form.
Doesn't matter. They can still see the past, present, and future and affect all of it.
Also, they can see things that exist beyond infinite knowledge and all time and dimensions. Also, their destruction not affecting time notably in any shape or form. So if I prove to you that the beast heads, like, if we literally had like a line that said that the beast heads desired the ability to manipulate time, I would literally be capable of arguing narratively that they affected time, even if you didn't see it, because it would be their desire to do so.
I mean, if they desire to like represent the past, present, and future, and we take Chen's statements as them like, you know, representing that. Also, it says symbolize specifically, not represent, but whatever. So yeah, no, not a very good argument. And again, the beast head shaking the world. With this shaking the world and ignoring the laws, you could argue this is the human world, but it doesn't really matter for the purposes of like this part of the blog.
All right, Nightmare. This is gonna be great. I love this. I love it when people try to debunk Nightmare.
Would you say it's also pretty great as well because we've also recently got a hold of that their mobile game scan?
Oh, we're gonna show that, so you might as well get your hands on that while I go through this.
All right, very well. Go for it.
Okay, so Nightmare destroying the demon world. Nightmare stayed in the DMC5 manga to destroy the demon world. Let's see what they have. Oh, they have the Japanese description because you know that's his power could destroy the demon world. Demon Emperor fielded it so much so that he bound and restrained the very power that he fought. It was created as a weapon without a will. That being, it obeyed its lord's orders. So we kind of technically already knew this in like the Japanese 1 guidebook. It's actually confirmed through Dante's perspective that when he's fighting Nightmare, he can actually detect that Nightmare is a sealed being and that if it released all of its energy at a single focal point in a certain way, it would be capable of destroying the demon world. So this is technically not new information. This just confirms that the reason why it's sealed away in the first place is because it could blow up, and that narratively it wasn't unsealed until. However, a game guide with lore given from the perspective of Dante says this time would be indefinite. This is the Japanese guide I was referring to. However, as a result, it seems that the evil killing machine that even the creator did not anticipate was created, becoming a dangerous existence that could threaten the stability of the demon world if his powers were to be released indefinitely. It also specifies the stability of the underworld Nightmare would be affected. So the problem they have here is that they're asserting that indefinitely means that the powers are being released over the course of an infinite length time frame, and not just for a longer period of time afterwards.
Yeah, yeah. The indefinitely here does not mean that Nightmare has to like be free forever
Infinitely
to
release
destroy
it.
it. It just means that if he were free in general, he would destroy the demon world.
Also, this is directly contradicted by DMC5. Like blatantly contradicted by DMC5 because when Nightmare fires his laser in game, you want to know what happens? It explodes 5 seconds after he fires it. So if Nightmare fires this laser, um those demon world dimensions are getting blown up immediately afterwards. It does not matter how much you try to argue like, well, I mean, he's obviously like we don't see it because it's being shot across space and time. Well, remember that actually
The
they've
speed
provided
just
this.
scales higher and higher every day.
Hang on. I'd like to point out they're missing context here. They don't have the scan before this. You want to know what Mundus says right before he creates him?
What?
I desire a more powerful demon. So Mundus's demonic desire is to create a stronger demon, and he went too far. So if his intent is to create a weapon that obeys his orders, and its first intention is that it can blow up the demon world, then it would become reality because his desire in this case is to make a weapon that can obey his orders, and that weapon has the power to destroy the demon world. Like that's literally all I need because demons can self-actualize their powers. So if he says he can destroy the demon world, he can destroy the demon world. We need nothing else.
All right. Keep in mind again, the demon world is infinite and endless in size with consistent statements for that. They just don't accept it
And
because if they
and
do, DMC
multiple
scales immensely higher than they would like it to.
multiple time spaces. So even if it were blowing up like one dimension, if it was blowing up the demon world, it has to blow up not just all of the dimensions in the demon world. It has to blow up the time space barrier between all of them, which means it's blowing up a distance that exceeds infinite.
It
So
also specifies is the stability of the underworld Nightmare would affect. Yeah, because it's going to blow it up. Given Nightmare's own movement speed is quite slow and its destructive capacity is quite lacking, this is, I believe, so this is when he blows up while sealed. Not a very good argument, if we're being honest.
also,
Here, let me,
the
let me show this
savior is
again.
also the savior is also stated to be slow in deadly fortune. I guess that means he can't hit anything very hard.
Yeah, so this is Nightmare blowing up while sealed, so that wouldn't make much of a difference.
Oh wait, we actually have feats for the savior that prove that DMC4 Dante has trouble with him, like physically. You know that Dante killed all the demon kings. Yeah, that
So
one.
this is literally lying. Giving Nightmare the benefit of the doubt that the cave is somehow super durable, it's literally Mundus' house, whatever. His next best feat is also lacking AoE. He causes an explosion, access denied. Okay. This website uses security service to protect itself from online attacks. Okay.
Yeah, I
And
got the same.
slightly craters the ground with a punch, access denied again. Okay, so we can't even look at these. He lacks both the speed and AoE to make this statement have a possible quantification. Does it? No, no. See, they're literally arguing because the visuals don't match up, but this is more. This is more key. So no, like this is just again. Nightmare also doesn't make a realm with a star. I don't care about arguing this. That's a stupid argument. As for the demon world being infinite in size, refer to here. This is a full Google
Oh,
Doc. It's a terrible document, just like the rest of this. There's enough statements and evidence for the demon world being infinite in size. They just don't want to accept it because the second they do, Dante gets upgraded immensely by their own standards.
wait. There is one thing in this Demon Will Infinite Size I do need to go over.
Do you want me to show it,
So,
or do you just want to talk about it?
we can talk about it. So, let's see. So they basically say that they go against the unending darkness, endless sea, and endless void. The endless sea says it has edges. Um, hang on a sec. That's not entirely truthful. So they hide between the edges of the sea and the underworld. That's not referring to the underworld sea. That's referring to the water in the human world. They do realize the Sargasso skulls drift between the human world and the demon world, right?
No, Mangler, because that would mean they have to know DMC lore, and as we've clearly established in our 3-hour journey so far, that's not exactly true.
So that's wrong, and it's stated to be and being stated to be an endless void. The endless void scan. The Japanese version says this. Oh, how convenient that it says that depicting a world of everlasting darkness where not even the stars twinkle. Um, but that's not the Japanese version. That's your translation of the Japanese version. The endless void version is the official English translation.
They do cherry pick their evidence quite significantly. It's not a good thing. It's really not. They can just a lot of these can be solved by just saying they don't think there's enough evidence.
Or just like my translation is more valid than yours because it's the official one. Fuck off. But unending darkness, crucible chaos. In essence, this is flavor text. No, it's not. Darkness of the demon world doesn't end, which is true, but it isn't referring to size. It's like saying space is endless. We can't see the end of it. We know the demon world has an end, the point where it converges with dimensional barriers separating both realms. No, that exists outside the demon world. It will be arguing. It would be argued both realms are separate time spaces, but it is never stated. Um, are you sure about that? Are you sure it's never stated at any point in time that the realms have separate time flows? You sure about that? Okay, we'll get to that later. The only evidence. Oh, wait, they go over here right here. The only evidence used cited the statement of flow as time is different, though this is referring to Malay Island and not the demon world. They are lying to you. So this is a lie. So in this video that they post where Dante is investigating statements from the Castellan, this is on Malay Island when he makes this claim. And he says, I feel the time awkwardly passes around here. Sorry, I'm going through it slowly.
No, it's fine, but it's like I'm just thinking to myself that I'm gonna have to splice fucking like 3 to 4 hours worth of content.
In some places, the flowers never die. In other places, they wither so quickly. And then I believe he makes one final statement. I cannot stay here very long, for I know my sanity will leave me. So, um, this is not Malay Island for one very blatantly obvious reason. That's one that's very obvious to anyone who's like read the novels. When he says my sanity will leave me, that is something that happens when you're in the demon world. When you exist in the demon world, that is a common thing that occurs. That is literally like just being in the demon world and the atmosphere causes people to lose their minds. Also, he says in several places this does. And Malay
You
Island
can talk, by the way. Just let Mangler finish this section first.
Malay Island is consistently referred to as an area that is the closest place in the human world to the demon world. It literally has a ship that takes you to the demon world. I don't know.
Deep breaths, Mangler. Deep breaths.
I don't know how much more like I can take.
We're almost there, Mangler. We're almost done. There's just
Also,
7, 8, 9. No, we're not almost done. I take it back. Just keep done.
Actually, that one's easy enough to get to the center.
Okay.
Even if they're almost different, no one has direct scaling to that.
Nightmare.
Mundus,
Oh,
Argent, Malphus,
actually,
the
that reminds me.
Savior.
Before I forget, just for context here, let me show you what the mobile game says actually regarding.
Yeah. Why don't we go over ultra blatant statements? Zim, bring in the ultra blatant statements.
All right, so let me show you real quickly what's going on here. So recently in the DMC mobile game, we recently got this picture right here. It's just a scan, like loading screen.
Send it to my DMs so they can see it,
Okay,
and so I can see it.
All right, so let me go. Well, I'll just put it in general voice chat. Copy link. So I'll just put it in general voice chat so Kyle can see it. Kyle, you may speak now if you wish to get involved. So there's two translations according to the guy who got the translations for it. This is the more accurate one. So let me just go ahead and paste this here as well. This directly states the underworld. That's what's referring to. The Demon King is said to have created a powerful weapon that he even feared would destroy his own kingdom, the Demon World, which is infinite in size, and sealed his power to stop it, referring to Nightmare. With his immense great power, he could effortlessly lift the entire structure of the underworld or destroy it. Only a being comparable to her creator could surpass his strength. So this is supposed to be the her creator part's mistranslation. A weapon would be a nightmare for any entity, living or dead. So apparently, the way it works here is that Mundus, in order to scale to this creature that can destroy the universe, you'd have to scale to its creator.
So it's not only blatantly this is what we refer to as a baby statement. So this is a statement that comes about when someone is being extremely dishonest and like semantical and needs to be spoon-fed or handheld information because they don't accept something. So like statement for visions of V, for example, right? An example is that it says Mundus creates the nightmare and it says its power would lay waste to even the demon world. I've spent months telling people that that means destroy, and they have told me lay waste can mean other things. So therefore, nightmare can't destroy the demon world. Those kinds of arguments is what causes developers to get fed up and put something like this, because they literally have to spell it out for you for something that's so extremely blatant that you can't just lie about it. You have to just fuck off.
When your argument boils down to, I think this phrase could be something else, or you're arguing semantics, that's not a good argument anymore, or at all.
Because right now we know several things from this statement: that it can destroy the kingdom, it can effortlessly lick the entire struggle to destroy it. So it can't just destroy it; it can effortlessly destroy it. So we can't even argue it's like a long time frame. He can do it very easily, and only a person comparable to him in strength could surpass his strength. And bonus round, the weapon is a nightmare for any entity, whether it's living or dead.
Laughs in DMC
No matter who you no matter who you are or what you are getting affected by this thing if it goes off. Unless you're stronger than it.
Okay.
So
We're almost there. The end of the tunnel is so close. Also, hello, Kyle.
also
Pretty good.
going further into that last portion
They're
for
still
the
going
end
on the
statement.
fucking demon world. There's still
Almost done.
more.
A lot of definitions for unending are along the lines of having or seeming to have no end. Seeming to have no part is an issue because it seems it can be interpreted that there is no end, nothing in sight. That's not the context for it. It says unending darkness, a crucible of chaos, and then that literally leads into the realm of demons that it makes up. So it would be the space. It would not be nothing in sight. For example, looking up instances where it's used in sentence across a searing, unending plain of sand or isolated camel train, you would literally have to prove that this is the case.
Yeah,
Like
so
as an example.
when you have to compare it to other fictions or other works to explain your point, you have to prove it's the exact same thing, and you very rarely can do that.
This is also not the context for this, because the context for this statement is referring to a primordial existence of the universe. So why the fuck would you say that this is about like me looking up off into the distance and saying maybe there's not really an ending to this? This entire universe is made out of darkness. In what reality are you able to see the edge of it? Like
No, Mangler. Darkness is an idiom for the souls of demons.
I guess I shouldn't be surprised because they also thought the ray of light was that like the ray of light that came out of fucking nowhere was also completely natural. Um, and then you can also refer to time rather than size. The darkness never goes away. That's not true because in that exact scan, they literally say these two worlds exist together for an eternity. So they make it very clear when they're referring to time, and it's not there. So the unending would be referring to size because they use eternity to describe when something is existing in time.
Size matters.
The demon world might also have an edge. The unsacred Hellgate, the edge
I
which
got that.
divides it, is also seen to. You can be infinite in size and have an edge. Infinity has a starting point, as it also has an ending point.
Okay.
Like,
Okay. Okay.
God,
So I think that's enough, Mangler. You've been there for I think the last 15
Savior,
minutes.
Savior, go, Savior.
Okay, basically they're arguing that this isn't a real recreation of the fucking area where you fight Burial in because they say it's a nightmare So again, we see stars in this dimension and everything, and they're just saying it's not real because they're saying it's dimensional travel. With Burial, so they think it makes more sense that the Savior sends you to an alternate dimension instead of just creating a space for you to fight in. All right, whatever.
So remember what I said about demons manifesting their desires in reality? Okay, so we have a demon named Nightmare. You know what his power is? Creating nightmares and making them become reality. So if we have a statement that says this is a nightmarish recreation of Ferris Hills, then it's reality. So no, their argument's invalid.
Okay.
Skip this entire section. We're
All
done.
right. Yeah, doesn't confirm what's inside the Savior. This is a baby argument. This is terrible. Some heavens are at night. Some are centered in the room. That's because that's the area you fight. They created the sun and everything, whatever. It should be noted that the recreation comes from a Prima guide, which is not the most reliable for feats or lore. They're only saying this because, like, fucking goes against their argument, whatever. Oh my god, 4D Demon World. Holy shit. Oh my god.
Demon World energy being 40 isn't a thing. It is. It has consistent feats. Let's go.
Stopping time.
No. Gurian's not a thing.
Gurion and everything is not a thing.
This is going to be great. Okay,
Okay.
stopping time is messing with space time. It's not inherently 4D. That is blatantly false by the theory of relativity. But
Oh, don't worry, Mangler. They have one argument out of hundreds that says that's not the fourth dimension.
the blog assumes Void Moose' death destroyed the parallel universe, which didn't happen, which you couldn't prove. Dante got reverse BFR back to his own universe in a manner similar to the Beast Heads.
Funny how the Beast Heads didn't work that way.
It wasn't the Beast Heads because they don't work that way. Even a smaller scale of demonic energy can affect the fabric of space and time. What the hell is this?
This is so you can see what's going on.
Oh no, this is I was talking about the link.
Okay.
Demonic essence can allow you to manipulate time, and they're able to break through space and time. Issues. Okay. So they're going through the Chrono Slicer and its descriptions. As you can see, the description says the device can manipulate time while the key is needed to activate the device. And then we almost never see demons capable of warping space and time in the games or novels. Only very few ones.
That's a lie.
That is fucking wrong.
That is an absurd lie. In the first novel, it's literally in the first 2 pages, you see demons warping reality to get to get the Danvers who's carrying Dante's coat.
Yeah, it also states in DMC2 that minor demons can plug places and events out of anywhere.
Just in one's novel alone, they warp the street around Danvers, they warp the hospital, they warp the nightclub, and they warp Bobby's cellar, and I think they also warp. Is it like a shopping center?
Probably.
And you get some warping, and you get some warping, and you get some warping. Yeah, so it's not just that. Like, they're also capable of moving in speeds in areas that literally are not quantifiable by these measurements. Like, demons are stated by Arkham directly to be able to show up anywhere at any time, which would be consistent with the fact that they can warp space and time, because they would be capable of moving in areas that affect space and time if they could also do that physically.
So, Mangler, should I also go over some of DMC1's examples of just demons casually reality warping, like the Nobodies?
No, Kyle. Because they said we can feel free to search for examples, but we won't find any, Kyle. Or we won't find many. Wait. Wait. They said we won't find many. So how many examples do you need to make this concrete if they're saying we won't find many?
The DMC 1 and 2's novel
Tim,
is
you
literally...
could wake me up from a drunken stupor and I could probably find you 20.
And that, as you can already understand,
and that's just a novel. That's just one's novel and one's game.
And that, as you can already understand, contradicts the interpretation that simple demonic energy on its own can just perform a hacks like that, when most of the time never showed such ability, but we get several statements confirming it can. Which only leaves one actual option. The energy isn't doing everything by itself. The device also has a part of it. Hey, actually, just to clarify, they actually don't mention Gurion at all, either one, for this portion. The horse.
They also seem to be soft-brained enough to not realize that the evil people who made Timothy and Gru had to go in and learn, like, how to use demonic energy
as a
also
to create.
That leads into the next discussion I wanted to talk about, because they mention how the Chrono Slicer and the Key of Kronos is being used, right? So they're just like, hey, obviously, to perform a hacks like this, it's not the energy doing itself, but the device is part of it. You know where I saw this argument? In DMC3. People argued that Dante isn't 4D because when he's hitting the devil crests, you know those wonderful things in the games where you smack them a couple times and then you get like a puzzle or you lift an elevator or whatnot. You know what they're stated directly to be fueled by? A sword's power. And guess what Dante's rebellion is stated to be for? The physical manifestation of his power. And he can hit a switch that literally says, use your power to transcend time and a great restoration will occur. Context for transcendence and restoration is that when he destroys light switches, he literally has to revert the flow of time back to a point in time. And if you think I'm making it too complicated or I'm using headcanon, you want to know what the Japanese version says? Pour your energy into me and send the 4 crystal lights back in time. So get the
Fake
fuck
news.
out of here.
It's almost like demonic energy can warp time and space, like the fourth dimension. That's crazy. Okay.
Or it's like time and space are completely irrelevant to it,
Right.
but whatever.
If you're not very familiar with the series and are asking if DMC tech can really help with such a feat, okay, so just to be clear, the Chronos slice, the key of Chronos literally states can manipulate the very fabric of space and time, and that it's needed to manipulate the very fabric of space and time, and that possesses magical energy. This means that the key of Chronos by itself can already do this feat. This is like saying a bullet isn't a bullet that can explode because it's not a gun.
Like, I think their problem is that they assume the key of Chronos is the key of Chronos is limited by what it's operating with, which is true. But they're saying therefore it can never be used by anything else because at this moment in time, only the Chrono Slicer was made for it. No other devices were made. I'm like, give Agnes literally a fucking month, and that changes. Give him literally a month.
Can I just bring this up? For as smart as Nico thinks she is, I guarantee you, if you were to give Agnes a bit of Girion, he wouldn't have just been able to make a Devil Bringer. He would have been able to make an armor.
No, I was gonna say, if he would have given Agnes that fucking horn, you'd be having fucking Girion-based Angelos.
There would be Garion-based Angelos. He'd be able to tell you their entire backstory, their entire lifespan, how they got all their powers and abilities, if they have any offspring.
Okay.
He'd be able to tell you things that don't make
So
sense.
let's go ahead and go on here. To forward their plans, Agnus, the chief's orders Chief Alchemist, create 3 lesser Hell Gates, copies of the real one. He used the devil arms Lucifer, Gilgamesh, and Pandora to power the gates and allow demons to enter the human world, which he used in his experiments. Just to clarify, Pandora and Lucifer are incredibly powerful devil arms. Gilgamesh is kind of weird. Devil arms don't have the power to travel between the realms. Well, that's because they don't have a body or anything. They can't move.
That's because this is in. So what they're doing is, and Mangler can pull me up if I'm wrong. They're starting to pull information from 4's novel and try and integrate it with some of 4 game's arguments. Am I correct?
Probably, because this is a direct statement from 4's novel. But that doesn't work.
Because
Because
in doing that, there's a bit of context here. Lucifer is a demon that Dante already beat, and you can make the same assumption for Gilgamesh and for Pandora. The reason why Agnes gets to use them in the first place is because Trish, along with the Sword Sparta, gave them to the Order so she could get in.
Yes. All right. Let me go ahead.
Context matters.
Let me go ahead and pop in here to continue this. Okay. Right here. Devil arms don't have the power to travel between the realms, despite demons having to an extent when the barriers are open. However, the devil arms don't have all of the demons' powers since they don't have, for example, passive fear hacks, as humans like Enzo can have a whole shot with them without being affected. Again, this is a dead demon who's lost most of its power or has transformed its power into a source of energy in the weapon. So this is a stupid argument. Summarizing demonic energy being used on a device that can warp space and time can't be considered 4D just by that. You're right. It can be 4D just by itself. As the device plays a part of it, just like every tech in Fortuna. Okay, so they didn't disprove devil arms being 4D. All they proved is devil arms don't move and don't corrupt people, which is fine. And also, I think they do. Isn't there like an audio novel where devil arms are killing people because of a curse or something?
You referring to the audio dramas?
Yeah, but I probably shouldn't mention that right now since we haven't gone through them ourselves yet.
I know the brief summary of them, but I haven't gotten into the the details on it.
Now, for the most important part, pay close attention to the statements on what the device and the key can do. While in possession of the key of Chronos, press B and O, or B circle, near a Chrono Slicer to slow the flow of time. Crafted of concentrated magical energies, can manipulate the very fabric of space and time. Needed to manipulate the very fabric of space and time. The warp space and time never existed. But if I can manipulate the very fabric of space and time consistently with statements, why is this not 4D?
Also,
and also, they're forgetting Garion, they're forgetting several other time-based abilities and objects.
They're forgetting
the Samsara.
They're forgetting some very basic items from 3 that literally do that.
Like, literally right here, we have the Samsara. Sculpture symbolizing the time-space continuum, used to restore order to time-space rifts, and they don't even talk about it ever.
You want to know what it does when it's used in-game? It's literally stated to stop the vicious cycle by warping space and time around portals to send them to different locations, which already proves the demon world is separate time-space. So their argument is fucking invalid.
Okay, so the warp space and time never existed, just like your brain cells. We have in 2 of the statements the word manipulate, which has a different, less precise meaning, as manipulating can be about many things on how it manipulates said concepts into what end. Okay, so here's the problem. I can't manipulate time because I'm a 3-dimensional being. Can you guys? Well, okay, so technically I'm not 3-dimensional, but that's not the point. You guys get the point I'm trying to make here.
I don't know about using, but I can.
Well, I mean, I can too, Kyle, but I just do it in a higher dimension. Look, the point is 3-dimensional beings would not be able to manipulate time at all in any way, shape, or form. Neither would 3-dimensional energy. Now, obviously, there are hacks abilities you can work with, but this literally says it can manipulate the very fabric, and it's needed to manipulate the very fabric of space and time. Much more blatant.
The point is, in the context of the dimension itself, you cannot affect it unless you're, like, operating 4D of it.
Okay, stop. Alright, we're back with part 4 of the fucking G1 blog. 4 hours! Linked here, issues with infinite-sized demon world. Again, Mangler already discussed where the problem is.
Debunk that.
Hang on. And how it manipulates that concept. However, we're lucky because the slice description is clear and precise. Further explaining what this is all about. Slow to flow of time, which is your regular time slow hacks. Again, this is because that's what the device does, but they'd make more devices, make no mistake. A device plus energy capable of slowing time is rather common in fiction. Having time hacks like that doesn't give someone 4D power. Hey, Mangler, could you give me Garion's, could you just, off the top of your head, Garion's statements that he failed to mention?
Garion's exact statement is that he can control time on a limited scale. And his statement in the 3142 art book says that just being in the demon world for centuries gave him the ability to control time.
So what you're saying is that being in the demon world let him affect the 4th dimension?
Yes, being in the demon world for just some time, granted it was a while, allows him to control time.
That's pretty impressive.
It doesn't happen for someone in the human world.
Pretty impressive. It is also... Okay, now this one right here is the sneakiest fucking shit they can do. This one right here was so bad, even their Reddit called them out for this bullshit. It is also controversial whether time is even 4D. So, not only have they left out several items and several descriptions and several demons, but they're gonna go now to argue that time is not even 4th dimensional because they know anyone who knows the series could bring up feats, and they're like, oh, well, time's not even 4D, so it doesn't matter. Now, Mangler, you actually looked into this. You claim there was only one actual paper about this?
Yeah, as far as this one and like one that I mentioned, nowhere in this fucking, like, this paper mentions this, but nowhere in there has mentioned like the like a scientific consensus. This is just like 2 scientists that have proposed a paper that, again, I'm assuming some X amount of scientists do agree with this, sure, but I have heard nothing that even remotely indicates time is being revoked as the 4th dimension. The theory of relativity has not been, like,
disproven or
updated. And even if it was, it doesn't matter. Okay, G1, do you know where the statement, do you know where the term time-space comes from? It originates from the theory of relativity, because it operates under the assumption that time-space is the 4th dimension. You want to know how many times the word time-space is used in DMC? At least 2 to 3 times. Once between the guidebook, and every single example of which it's used refers to demons coming to the human world via the fabric of time-space. Your argument is fucking invalid. Also, the statues, the god of space and time statues, are also referred to as time-space statues. Garion's description confirms he can control time-space. The Fury's description confirms he can jump through time-space. The Hell Vanguard literally has time and space jumps that are referred to as temporal and spatial.
Look at all the time space stuff he's
Hey,
dropping right
Your
now.
arguments are
May I
fucking
add?
wrong.
May I add two things?
Go ahead, Kyle.
Number one, Girion being in the demon world is good and all, but do you know what he spawned? A race of horses that can also born with the ability to control time.
Yep.
And second, even if the theory of relativity was shown to be false, that doesn't matter because DMC functions under the logic that it does work.
Yes.
So you have to go by how the verse takes it, not by the real world logic.
The like Kyle said, it operates under the assumption that it is true. So you would have to disprove it being true in DMC then, and you clearly can't because I've got 4 different statements between 4 different games of time space and space being used hand in hand in conjunction with all of these feats.
I also want to point out as well that, again, like Mingler mentioned earlier, but even the Reddit brought up that this was a shady fucking move on their part because the overall consensus so far is that relativity still exists, but there's hundreds of documents for time being the 4th dimension and only 1 or 2 new ones that don't have that much traction from what I understand that claim it's not.
You do not have consensus if you have 1 or 2 documents. You have to prove an overwhelming majority of scientific evidence presented to every single, or at least the vast majority of institutes in academia around the world, get it submitted for review, and then have it published. That is a fuckload of work that has not been done.
Can I just say this too, that if they're going to try and go the sneaky route and try and act like time isn't the 4th dimension, that shoots them in the foot with God of War and Bayonetta.
Oh, no, Kyle. Bayonetta's statement for Jubilees being able to create a universe, so I'm sure that'll be fine. Because that one I'm sure will be accepted when they need it. This is completely shady, and this is fucking bullshit to argue this as a whole, because I guarantee you they don't have this for any other character. I guarantee you they've never pulled something like this for another character. Just saying.
Now we get into the greatest parts. Okay,
we're almost done.
DMC has argued it massively FTL from the spaceflight Dante and Mundus do in DMC 1. The issue is we don't know where they were initially in space, only that they went to Earth of that space, finishing the battle in DMC.
So they literally assume just the worst case scenario for the feat, which is, I don't really... Do you care about the planet thing or no?
No, man, it's fucking relevant.
Okay, so fuck the planet thing.
I'm skipping all the way to, the relevant light speed arguments. So, let's see.
It was a good speed feat in 2016, but now it's kind of like a mid-tier speed feat that you could just pull out for a fun time.
And you know what? With recently what we got from the mobile game, we now have better scaling for minor fucking demons than anything.
And by the way, G1, Pinnacle Combat is canon. It's oversight by Capcom. On top of the fact that if you guys thought that the Fury was hard, you guys are not gonna like the Ripper.
Yeah, don't worry. I'll mention it when we get to the Fury.
So I'd like to point out that if power scaling was a little bit more valid back in the day, light speed was considered irrelevant by the events of 2006 and 2008 because there were already more consistent infinite speed feeds, but we'll get into that. So most other arguments for light speed and above DMC sadly don't hold much weight. Beowulf uses generic light attacks, which have more evidence of being light speed.
Wait, hang on. If they're generic to light, isn't that light speed?
No.
Okay. Artemis light curves and
well, it's not natural. It's not natural.
And
so you can't prove that's the same speed.
Well, no, Kyle. A beam of light in a world of pure darkness is just natural way of light, Kyle.
Yeah, according to them. Also, the demon world doesn't operate by the laws of physics or any of the laws of the human universe. So arguing that it's a laser that doesn't burn is semantical nonsense. It's stupid.
Okay, so they argue that the DMC2 attacks, which are referred to as light from the fucking tower, the ones they use to scale Nero, are not valid because they have knockback and they're not a continuous beam. Alright, whatever. Just keep going. It's not worth discussing.
Plasma being a particle shouldn't matter. Bullshit.
Particle beams are usually around light speed, though, just to clarify.
Laser from DMC3 is promising, but is no proof of burning or refracting, and isn't stated to be light.
No, and this is what I fucking hate about these people, and also VSB to an extent with this one. You have to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt it possesses all of light's properties. Any ethereal intent, any direct statements otherwise do not matter to these people in the slightest.
I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. Demons manifest powers and abilities based on their desire. So it does not matter whether a demon gives a fuck about fulfilling, like, the rules of science. If they want a laser, regardless of whether that ability has the properties or not of a laser, it's going to become a laser because of their subconscious desire becoming reality.
Okay, so this calc is wrong because it assumes Mundus made the space and it would be attack speed at best. Dante gets consistently tagged by Mundus' attacks. Yes, but Dante also dodges and reacts to several of Mundus' attacks. They literally had a battle before Dante got stabbed, you fucking dunces.
Okay, infinite speed arguments is either characters moving in stop time, which is resistance to time stop, not speed unless proven otherwise. Oh, that's easy. So, Malay Island, or not Malay Island, fucking, what is it, Vito Marley stops time, like, multiple times, and Dante and Lucy are capable of moving.
We also know that Dante does not have resistance to time manipulation ability, specifically thanks to Garion.
Also, he's able to activate the Bangle of Time, which in this case will upscale from Garion and affect the dimension in and of itself. And the generals who are getting affected by it are completely unaffected by it. And Nello Angelo, when he actually removes the restraints on his power, is also completely unaffected by it. He's only affected when he's weaker.
Yes. And Nightmare needing infinite speed to destroy a demon world, which only works if the realm is actually infinite, which we have no solid proof of. Several statements to back it up. And it was stated Nightmare would do it in an indefinite time frame. No, it wasn't. They're just lying.
That's not what it was stated. And it's separated by space-time. So
that's a lie. And Vision of V just says that he could just lay waste.
Oh,
immeasurable
careful,
speed
Kyle. Lay waste could mean anything.
Immeasurable speed is from characters tagging the Fury. That's not true. That's not where the most consistent immeasurable speed arguments come
It was
from.
the most popular one for a while, to be fair. It was our first most popular one, but there's more to go off of now for sure. But if they don't mention it, Mangler, just like Sarah's other arguments, because I kind of don't want to be here like for another hour.
I get it. So it lists the statement. You guys are aware of this. The issue is that it says demons' powers are used for jumps, which visually in game is teleportation. It is not. So
that is a lie.
I've already said this before, but like if you watch the cutscene, you can literally see the Fury running and moving. It attacks by accelerating, by running on the ground. Also, that is wrong.
Just to clarify here for a minute, since we're mentioning the Fury, there is a statement from a demon in DMC's mobile game, which again is supervised by Capcom. It is one of the many, it's called a Ripper, Kyle mentioned earlier. It is one of the many hunter races that exist among the demons and move very fast in battle. It moves so fast in battle that its movements are invisible to the naked eye. It can cover every inch of the underworld in less than a day. So, just to clarify for a minute, the underworld has separate space times, which this creature has to travel through, and it also has it's endless, it's infinite. Now again, even if you don't want to accept it's infinite, it does have separate space times that this creature would have to fly across. So,
hang on, it has multiple infinite-sized bodies that it has to travel to, and it travels to every single inch of those bodies and the time-space fabric itself in 24 hours. And bonus round, this thing didn't self-actualize its powers to be speed, as far as what we know. The Fury spent years thinking about speed.
So we know through Nico's theory of demon evolution that demons do have self-actualization powers. This is shown with the...
Yeah, I didn't explain to them earlier.
Oh, so I wasn't here for that, sorry.
It's okay.
But,
you showed up late, it's fine.
This basically shows that the Fury wanted to be so fast to catch its prey, and it, after several generations, it achieved its goal.
I am speed now.
So the point is that, like, if that thing is fast and it didn't focus on speed, the Fury would arguably have to be faster.
Since it's
Because-
since it's just focusing on speed day in day out.
Also, like, this is a demon that fights Dante during the events of, like, 3. The Fury fights Dante during the events of 5. So, so if we're talking, like, the demons that would compare to it, it's not even, like, the contest is even there.
Okay, so continuing the other argument for measurables, Chen having no concept space and time, which is not only disgustingly taken out of context, it was talking about visions given by the beast heads. No, you could argue it is, well, it would still be him, like, being outside space and time.
He literally says in the, wait, did they use the,
Well, it doesn't matter, because they say it's a mistranslation, but again, we went over the fact that the main writer for DMC also worked on the translation for DMC too, so...
Dude, they're being dishonest here. They forgot to include another scan.
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah. Hang on a sec. Let me see if I can find it. We'll do this. I want this on stream so that people can see this shit.
Dude, at this point, is it even a fucking surprise anymore? Fuck. I hate these people suck.
I know.
Why do they hurt me?
Here we go. So,
Seems buying that book was a worthy investment.
oh yes. Wait, where is it?
I just saw one of the miscellaneous feats, and that is a fucking cyber argument.
So again, like, Cyber is our friend. I really hope he doesn't, like, get too upset about this. This was requested, and it's fair game. Cyber, again, if you end up being forced to watch this, because I feel like you might be able to, you know, don't take this too harshly, obviously. I'm still cool with you. I don't know if you're still cool with me at this point. But, yeah, no, so the problem is that we don't know what are Cyber's arguments and what are the other guys' arguments.
Oh. So, here we go. This is a different translation that was taken than the one that they used. It's a mistranslation as shown here. They said, I've been waiting for you for a long time. Okay.
Also, again, this is, hang on.
So this is just Chen basically observing the area after he's taken the power from the beast heads. And it says the vivid image is flowing into his mind. So what he says instead in this translation, like, I believe right after he does this, which they failed to mention, it says, at that time, the confrontation between Chen and Dante was also at the height of the tension. There was no change in Chen, who had devoured the head of a beast. No change in appearance. Or, should I say, no change in appearance. I see the devil is such an uplifting presence, said Chen, nodding briefly. Only Dante was the only person in the world who knew. The current Chen is no longer the person they once called Chen. However, he is not even a demon. The powerful magic that is released is indeed the very power of the demon, but there is no evil darkness there. Instead, only greed and unfathomable desire, remember that part, the self-actualization, swirl around to the point of purity. Pure and simple, whirlpools. I want to know everything. I'd like to know all of the universe, all the laws of this world, beyond all dimensions and time, from the beginning of history to the end of life.
Mangler, are you suggesting that the beast heads could give him knowledge beyond all space and time, and probably will also give him that existence as well, since he knows
all dimensions and time and all of the universe? I don't know how much more, like, blatant you need to be. Also, the context for him being like immeasurable would mean that he's not bound by linear time anymore.
Which he wouldn't be, because he's swallowed the beast heads.
Yeah, he literally is seeing events that exist beyond the flow in a linear sense, and is now interacting with them directly. No immeasurable speed arguments. You didn't for that. God tier simply upscale.
Yeah. So again, like, and if anyone wants at some point, I can go over the space thing to talk about this. I just don't want to do it for this video because we've already been here for like 3 hours already.
Oh yeah. Beowulf is stated to be able to make a small move with the move called Pain on the Move. In the English version of DMC3, not only the resting blast small in the room, but the Japanese version says nothing of a supernova. Omission does not prove a contradiction.
Yeah, no, Kyle's right. That's just screaming cyber.
They also did exactly the same thing with the Japanese version of the Fury. So
not to steal your thunder, Mangler, but just because something in the Japanese translation doesn't say word for word what it does in the English, doesn't make it a contradiction.
Yeah, we've batted these things home.
No, Kyle, dude. Oh my goodness, it's been nothing but repetition at the time because they all do the same. They do the same problems over and over again.
Like a broken record. Oh, here we go. Here's the bit. Wait.
Oh, oh, oh.
Wait. So it says blast the ground with a burst of light energy. Even if you want to prioritize the English version, the visuals don't match up with the supernova. Doesn't have to. Demon powers defy logic and physics as a whole, and they're based on self-actualization.
Now, I just want to clarify here for a minute. I know that someone's going to say, if they defy logic and physics, how can you quantify it at all? Just to clarify, because it tells us what to quantify it to.
Yeah. So it's not up to your opinion. It's up to what the game determines is valid.
Yeah. So I know someone's gonna bring up that argument because it always happens at some point where someone's like, "Oh, well, if you can't do it, then therefore how can you use math or anything for demons to calculate anything?" And I'm like, "Well, I could just say the game told me what it does, and the visuals don't matter for that."
I don't know. I don't remember saying like Beowulf was like 5.6 times stronger than the last guy. I just usually say they're stronger or weaker because I think that's the best representation that I can give. Here we go. All right. Urizen is stated to shake the foundation of the world, which is not actually present in the Japanese version. Shaking the foundations of something is a phrase that can refer to bringing about major change. It would be an idiom.
Yeah, so for context, they are literally arguing that when it says Urizen would shake the foundations of the world, that he would be shaking apart the governments, society, culture, and everything, instead of being physical.
I would like to point out...
Don't you remember... Don't you remember when Urizen was fighting Raiden?
So
we have to burn it all down! Bring...
Not for money, not for oil. Okay.
Don't fuck with this Demon King.
To be honest, I do remember how Urizen was invading the human world to stop the spread of the dangerous. He was basically an allegorical analogy for the humans destroying the environment. That's why he basically tries to kill them all with a tree. But anyway, this is wrong. This is a lie. In the first scene of DMC5, when they're literally like driving into the fucking like Redgrave City, it's explained that the government has already like given up. So the argument that he's shaking the foundations of the world, which is a statement that accommodates Urizen 3, the one that has the fruit, which is at the end of the game, not the beginning. At the beginning of the game, the government has already given up. The end of the game is when he's doing the shaking foundations. So that's
just to ride this home. Every news channel that Nico cycles through is saying how everybody should give up and just pray.
Yeah, no, they're literally like, we need to pray to our god of choice because we're fucked.
Looking at fucking Fortuna just there, like, should have listened to me, guys.
And the fun, well, I don't want to go any further than that. But...
Okay, so yeah, basically that's a stupid argument. They say the French version says shaking the foundations of the universe. The issue is the fact that the Japanese version doesn't have the shaking line. Doesn't matter, official translation, whatever. There's no real Sekiuchi, whatever. Is line added in the international release, not even mentioned in DMC5 art book or game guide, whatever. If it's added to the international release, then context, then it would be like intent.
Relying on a French translation to upscale this is shaking itself because you're admitting the English version is not the primary one, in which the Japanese version doesn't flat out state this. So this is like a double fuck up here, where they're saying that the English version is apparently more valid than the French version, which is funny. So I guess there are versions that are valid. Some versions are more valid than other ones.
No, Mangler, if it's not the Japanese version, it is not valid in the slightest.
Basically dead in the water. Gotcha.
So, even though Itsuno worked extremely close to the English version,
even though the writer for DMC originally joined as the translator for DMC2.
Even though, and guys, correct me if I'm wrong on this, even though the main people who market the game, that have produced the game, also went out of their way to create theme songs for the characters that are exclusively in English. The official songs, like Devil Trigger, and Devils Never Cry, and Bury the Light.
No, stop, Mangler.
So only in English? That's kind of funny.
Wait, there's no Japanese version for them?
No! They're only in English.
That seems a little suspicious for a game that's supposed to be Japanese primary.
And you know what's funny? The lines in the dialogue are literally reflections of the characters and the lines. And they take lines from the official English translations of the source materials, not the Japanese ones.
Must not be canon. Okay, the Clyde tree did not physically fuse both realms. This is literally contradictory to the plot of DMC5. This is correct. Gilbert making a nexus is environmental destruction in the context of the first book and would take time to even terraform a city. It'd still be faster in the demon world naturally, so what's your point?
To give context to that, that is correct. But the time you're looking for is a couple of hours to take over the city and a couple of days to take over the planet.
Oh, I'm gonna love this one that's coming up.
Yeah, I just saw it.
Gonna be
oh, Mayweather's gonna love that.
open words. Hang on one sec. Give me like. Actually, you can start reading it now. We'll have it momentarily.
We're not going to tackle the weird demon name means your power argument, which is also backed up by the mobile game as well. Rather, we will point that Mundus' name does not mean universe. This is actually fucking funny because they don't realize the context for this fucking ruins them.
All right, I'm gonna send this.
And so does the interview in the fucking book where they get this.
Well, they do mention Mundus' universe in Latin, so I don't know how they're going to get away with this one. But for context, Vile World or Imagined Universe in the works of Carl Jung would make you universal.
Yep, because demons self-actualize their powers.
So, in Carl Jung's philosophy, the dream world essentially is a higher dimensional place that actualizes reality. So if Mundus' name does mean imagined universe, with reference to Carl Jung, I know they don't know philosophy, that would actually support Mundus being universal.
Hang on, this scan that I sent is like fucking sideways for some reason.
Oh, I fucking hate when that happens.
I don't know why.
Alright, so Mangler's getting his fucking troops ready. Mundus' name is outright stated to be allegorical.
What?
I mean, fair enough, but it's still his name regardless, so whatever. Not literal, it doesn't have to do with the physical universe itself. You're right, it has to do with the imagined universe, which is greater than the physical universe, according to Carl Jung. Similarly, Agni and Rudra are not literally the Hindu gods of fire and wind, but simply demons of fire and wind powers. Okay, so if Agni and Rudra's names are about Hindu gods that control fire and wind, and their name is their power, if Agni controls fire and Rudra controls wind, like the Hindu gods they're named after, wouldn't that mean that their names mean their power?
Let me help you. Let me help you with this. Get rid of this bullshit where they talk about them being the Hindu gods. Their names are fire and wind. Get rid of that little bullshit to try and like confuse people.
Hang on, let me pull this up. Okay, so here Mangler's providing us with an official scan from...
Hang on a second. Before you go over that,
Alright.
you need to get the Pinnacle of Combat stuff first.
Alright. It is far more likely and believable that Mundus' name is Mundus because he is the emperor of the demon world, Vile World. Oh, so you're one to accept the version that supports your argument. According to Kamiya himself, they chose the name Mundus because he's the emperor of the underworld, and the name has evocatory imagery. Okay, so Mundus represents universe in Latin, according to the guy who wrote it. All right, problem solved. Now, obviously, he's much stronger than Universal, but whatever.
Trying to find the cities.
Hey, so they made him look like God, so they could also show his overwhelming power. Kind of like, you know, how, like, a god in most fictions can, you know, fuck with the universe, but whatever.
Ah, here we go.
So Mundus' name meaning universe isn't meant to be taken literally. He isn't a universe. Well,
that's false. That literally goes against the Kamiya interview.
Now, to be fair, it means universe, but they are right. He isn't a universe. He's a multiverse. Okay, so basically, this was all trash all across the board. We've literally had 3 to 4 hours to go over this. We're gonna finish off with a name nail here, and then we're done.
No wonder their Reddit fucking nailed them in the ass for this.
We're gonna go full blast on the name thing. This will be like 5 minutes tops. All right, so.
Well, the floor is yours now because we're done with the fucking blog.
Oh yeah. So I spent so much time going through all the different translations and shit for this. I took hours trying to spread this. So for them to tell me that we're not going to tackle the weird demon name means your power argument means they did not think to engage with it in any capacity. So when you when you look on the link and you click on it, it says the official description says to them a name is truth. More than the forms they take, it is said that the name of a demon is closer to its truer substance. Like heirs to a family, they model themselves after the meaning of their name. So this later explains in the next scan that even demons without names cannot move as they wish. So that already confirms that demons mold themselves based on what they call themselves, and they cannot move. That is not the official translation. This, what Zim has in his DMs, what I sent him, is
Yes.
the official translation, and
Here,
it
let me
says
see
this.
if I can't just highlight that a little better so they can read it.
It says this. To demons, names are truth and of far more consequence than some corporeal visceral. A demon's name is its power, the very fabric, the mold of the demon itself, aka the fabric of its existence. To take away the name is to render it powerless. So that is just the same statement, just far more blatant. But we're not done. We're not done. Pinnacle of Combat actually brought this exact statement, and made it even more blatant. And they said, at least in the one that was translated, it says the concept of the power of the name. From the moment of their birth, names are one of the most sacred things to demons. They represent not only power, but also the concept of their own existence, the basic principles of which predate even the creation of the demon world itself. It manifests itself as a part of the soul that forms them in their dark hearts. So when Mundus has a statement that says his name means vile world or imagined universe, and he's taken in the context of a paragraph that says from Carl Jung, who believes in Unus Mundus, his own paper, that the psyche, aka the consciousness, can become reality and they are interlinked, in a verse where demons self actualize their powers and get them from their names. You see where I'm going with this? Um,
We can
this
also add extra context to this. In one's novel, when Dante accepts his actual name, he
oh,
gains unfathomable power.
yes, it's worth no. He literally states when he's Tony Redgrave that he cast aside his name, and this is why he's weaker. So he gains strength as a result of doing that. This is also why Virgil, part of the reason Virgil is nerfed during the events of 1, is because Mundus literally gave him a new name. He gave him the name Nello Angelo because he has the power to bestow names on people. Don't you guys kind of find it a little weird how all the demons in the verse, or at least most of the demons, have powers and abilities directly based on their name? Did you think that was like some kind of coincidence that Nightmare, a demon with nightmare powers, is called that? Frost is just a demon with ice powers. Blade is a demon with blades.